Hello and welcome along to On the Bench Extra. Joining me in the studio today, of course, is Tom Hardy. On today's show, we'll have highlights from Grimsby Town versus Bristol Rovers. We'll look at the other latest results. We preview the upcoming fixtures and we hear from Scunthorpe United. So, Tom, we'll start by just a quick conversation about our local sides. How are they doing? What do you feel, Hull City?
Well, obviously a week off, which is...
So was a bonus?
Well, yeah, a bonus, but obviously they won the last game, so they might have been liking to play again. So, you know, for them, they've not had much activity. Scunthorpe have done decent as well.
Obviously more games than Hull have, obviously.
Yeah, they've had 2 games obviously since we last on the show, and yeah, they've done well. Obviously, the season's looking like it's progressing now.
Obviously, we'll talk about that latest result in a moment. Grimsby Town as well, just as a whole, how do you feel? Scott Nielsen leaving, of course. Aswad leaving. Yeah,
so it's 2 players gone. Scott Nielsen, obviously, we had on the show earlier in the season. Disappointing to see him leave. You can see some of the reasons, you know, possibly why, if it wasn't working out between the two. And hopefully it'll work out for Grimsby. At the moment, Grimsby obviously it's stagnated again. We keep saying how it's going topsy-turvy. It keeps going really well and then terrible.
So North Ferriby as well, getting that 0-0 with Tamworth, who were 3rd, I believe, in Conference North. So it's not a bad moment for those. Yeah,
Ferriby doing well. Obviously, we know about the cup exploits. Have been doing fantastically well. Good result against Tamworth. Obviously, a team that came down from the conference last year. And North Ferriby just trying to win as many games as they can to try and just get themselves in towards the playoffs.
So a lot of talking points again for all our local clubs, and we'll address them more in the show as well. But first, we will look at the latest results for our local sides. Hull had a weekend off, as we mentioned, hopefully not in Portugal. Meanwhile, Scunthorpe are up to 14th place after beating Chesterfield 2-0 at Glanford Park on Tuesday night after goals from Niall Canavan and Paddy Madden, both of whom, along with Kevin Van Veen, scored in last Saturday's impressive 3-1 win over Swindon. Grimsby Town were beaten 1-0 to playoff rivals Bristol Rovers at Blundell Park, with Tom Lockyer scoring the decisive goal for the Pirates. The Mariners, however, still remain in the playoffs. North Ferriby, of course, played out a 0-0 draw against 3rd in the table Tamworth at Church Road in their last game before the FA Trophy semi-final first leg versus Bath City, which we'll talk about shortly. So we'll just touch on those results, Hardy. Let's start with Scunthorpe United. Obviously a very impressive win on Tuesday night against Chesterfield. Revenge, some might say, but you know, more importantly, a win.
A win, yeah, and against a team that's above them in the table, that's again looking for a playoff spot. Chesterfield very strong. They've got a good foundation. The club seems to be run quite well. They've got a decent stadium, decent playing squad.
Obviously, Scunthorpe found it tough over 2 legs in the FA Cup to overcome Chesterfield. They couldn't do it, of course, but you know, quite comfortable winners on Tuesday night.
Yeah, great result, really good result, and obviously the result against Swindon as well, who are another team who are, you know, pushing towards the top of the league, looking for automatic promotion. So 2 brilliant results for Scunthorpe this week.
Looking beyond those 2 games, it was a 1-1 at Coventry as well, we mentioned. So, you know, 3 good results there for Scunthorpe.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the last-minute goal at Coventry, but you know, it's still a point. It's still a point.
I would say probably disappointing for Grimsby Town. Obviously, their last 2 results, that loss to Bristol Rovers and before that Forest Green, which emphasises the loss to Rovers even more.
Yeah, disappointing because 2 teams that are near the top of the league. We talked about earlier on in the season about how Town were not getting the results against the team towards the bottom, and it's the teams in and around them that they've lost to now. So.
Are we now seeing this point in the season where Grimsby sometimes, you know, they stagnate and sort of tail off a bit? Are we getting to that point we have seen in recent seasons?
It seems to be like a jinx, doesn't it? It's like you get to this point in the season, and that's when Town sort of go off a bit, and you know, it's not good. They need to keep that consistency.
Do you think things off the field are, you know, making that happen? Obviously the new stadium announcement, that, you know, things are on that. Obviously Aswad and Scott leaving the club as well, new boys coming in. Do you reckon that plays a part?
It will do. The new players blending in and things like that, and obviously Aswad Thomas, who's been there for many years, and Nielsen has been there considerable time as well. So them leaving will have had an impact. Well, obviously we don't know what's gone on, but it's certainly going to affect team cohesion and things like that. The new players coming in, it's not that they've caused any problems necessarily, but obviously settling into a new squad, you know, a new town and everything can have its challenges.
And just
as well.
quickly, obviously North Ferriby 0-0 with Tamworth. It's a good point against you know, a top team in that league.
Oh, it certainly is. Yeah, they'll be pleased with that. A clean sheet as well is massive. Obviously, you know, they'll love the 3 points, but to get a result like that against a team that's flying high is definitely a positive.
Obviously, they are facing Bath City next. We'll address that later on in the show. But as you mentioned, that 1-0 defeat for Grimsby Town, controversial goal. So we'll take a look at the highlights from that match now.
Good header. And again. That's great play. The flag was up. The flag was up on the far side, thank goodness. But Matty Taylor, that was a good ball in. It was a good header on. Jolly just didn't quite make his mind up, and that gave Parks enough time to get in there. Interesting one. We need to cover this up. Oh! He did very well there, did Blissett. The linesman didn't even give anything. Off the post! Get it away! And James McEwen says to the pontoon, stay with us. Let's start again then. Listen to the noise in here. Linnell John Lewis, great challenge. Jolly spins, gets the ball off. Linnell John Lewis in there again. Ball forward from Brown, straight through the middle. Blissett looking for it, great knockdown. What a save. Well won. I think it was Adam Dawson, and what a save there. James McEwen, full stretch. Blissett is a real handful. Away from Magnay, now sent wide. Brown joins the attack. And goes again. That's going to be too strong for him, is it? Just. Get on the man. Blasted in. The ball was out on the far side for me. It was Lockyer. Now, was the ball ever out? I think the referee's given a goal kick. I think the referee... Let's just see here. I'm not sure that the referee's got this. I thought the ball was out. And I think that's what he's saying to Disley. Or is he? 3.5 minutes to play of ordinary time. Let's win it. Let's get in there and win it. Watson does. And it's in by Hannah. The flag is up. The flag is up.
All the action from last Saturday there.
Not enough clear-cut chances.
No, definitely not. Right, Stephen Pressley of Coventry City is our next focus. You know, we look at a manager, Stephen Pressley's not doing great, Hardy. Their last win came on the 3rd of January at Walsall, that was 2-0. They haven't won since then, it's about 5 weeks. Yeah,
it's a long time for anyone in football. They've had quite a few draws in that time, but obviously, I believe they're 20th in the league. They're 1 point off relegation. It's not looking good. I know Coventry have had their own problems off the field. Obviously, the ground share thing that happened last year, and also the fact that financially they're really, really struggling. But you know, it's sad to see an ex-Premier League team having to struggle that much in League One. Yeah, in recent weeks we have been talking about clubs' form, and we saw a pattern that away form was better. It's not the case for Coventry. On home form, they'd be 16th in the league. On away results, they'd be 21st, when really they're 20th. So away from home, they are struggling. Yeah, and obviously that's something they'll have to address. I wouldn't want to be the one that told Stephen Pressley that, because he's quite a big man. He was quite a you know, hard man footballer back in his day as a centre half. I wouldn't want to tell him that. No, certainly wouldn't. The next 5 games then, Sheffield United, MK Dons, Barnsley, Port Vale and Bradford City. Now this is a Greg special. The last one at Port Vale in 1959. So, if that's anything to go by. How old was Greg? You know, how do you see him doing in those 5 games? Some tricky games there. Sheffield United, I wouldn't fancy them to win. Neither MK Dons. So, you know, they're going to have to try and pick up points against Barnsley, who are struggling. Also, Port Vale, and then Bradford's not a sit. We say it's been 56 years since they won at Port Vale. I don't know if that's because they haven't met or they've just been poor. But that looks the most likely win. Because Bradford City, don't forget, having a great run in the FA Cup, full of confidence. Definitely, yeah. And Barnsley looking at getting a new manager, and there's talk of Nigel Adkins going there. It's not quite happened yet. But, yeah, you know, they've got to get results from those games, the teams in and around them. Overall for this season, then, they've played 36, they've won 10, drawn 11, lost 15. So almost an average across the board. But obviously, ideally, you'd want to be winning more games than anything. There should be. And a team like Coventry, with the stature and the history they've got, they should be looking more towards promotion now. Obviously, it's financially that's set them back, I think. They've got to address it, get loan players in, try and climb up the table. So, I'll ask you the big question, Hardy. Do we sack Pressley or do we stay with Pressley? Sack.
Oh, controversial.
Don't tell him.
Don't jinx. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to this week's head-to-head challenge. Greg's at it again. So let's look at the first instalment. Can you name Grimsby Town's starting 11 when they beat Barnet in 2006? Peter Bohr, Danny North, Kieran Toner. 9 years ago. This is terrible. No, terrible. Absolutely none. Right, here's a teaser to sink your nose into during the break. Which defender made 1,023 senior appearances in his career from 1990 and 2012? That included spells at both Scunthorpe United and Preston North End. See you after the break. Welcome back to Extra. Before the break, I asked you a teaser. The answer is Graham Alexander, who also gained 40 caps for Scotland. Still to come, we hear from Scunthorpe United. We look at the upcoming fixtures and there's more football chat with Hardy. But first, let's look at the second instalment of this week's challenge. Can you name Grimsby Town's starting 11 when they beat Barnet in 2006?
Mildenhall. McDermott. 2006. Proudlock. Danny North. Pete Bohr. Nick Hegarty. Junior Mendes. Paul Boland. James Hunt. Danny Boschel.
Absolutely shocking from myself, Hardy, and I thought you were bad. Of course, we both missed Newey and Croft. For all other answers, you can look on social media as well. We'll move on. We'll talk about Stephen Bruce at Hull City. We mentioned him a few weeks back. And things have improved, Hardy.
They have, yeah. They got that big win against Villa. It's not hard to beat Villa, but still, you've got to win those games.
You have.
And they scored goals, which is obviously the most important thing, because that's what they've been lacking. Injury list isn't looking quite as bad now as it was.
Just the 4, I believe.
Yeah, Bruce was having to contest with a lot of injuries. I think now Snodgrass, Chester, Diame and
Rosenior
is the other one. Yeah. So they're the 4 that they've got injured at the moment.
Does that mean now that when they come back into fruition, then we can't make excuses? You judge him on what's on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is no excuses then, because that has been one of the major factors that people have said why Hull have had this slump, because of the players that are injured. Now, obviously, Diame's goals were vital when he first came. Obviously, you know what I thought about Diame. We say about it every single week, but his goals, if you look at his statistics, his goals to games ratio was good when he first moved to Hull. So they have missed him. They've missed someone from midfield, being that sort of dynamic force, getting from box to box. I think get Diame back and it solves a few problems.
The other players are obviously quite experienced as well, so they're vital. Going back to that result at City, that's a draw at City, very credible, almost a win. So things have picked up. What do you think that is now because of? The injuries coming back or just a pick up in form?
Well, a bit of both really. Obviously they've had the players come back in. I think Ndoye, this January signing, he's going to be so beneficial to the way that Hull play. Like we said, he's a good striker. He's got a European pedigree. He was good at Copenhagen. He went to Russia, wasn't quite as good, but I think he's going to do the business for Hull. If it's not scoring the goals, setting them up, because looks like hard working. He's got a bit of pace. He's strong. Sort of thing Hull need.
Everything a Premier League team need. Now, we obviously asked this question to you on social media. Dan says, #in Bruce we trust. And David said, good manager with a big injury list. Now, as we mentioned, that is shrinking now. Players are coming back. How do you see, the rest of the season going from now on? Will they stay up? Because obviously, psychologically, for Hull, putting Villa in the bottom 3 is obviously huge as well, as Kevin Donovan said last week.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't see Hull going down, even when they were in the bottom three and things weren't going quite right. I just didn't see them going down. I don't know what it was. I just think they've got too much quality. The big players that they have got there, I think, are just too good to go down. But we've seen it in the past. Newcastle a couple of years ago. You know, there's been sides previously where you've thought, no way they're going to go down.
You can't expect to stay up. You still have to put the hard work in
still got
until
to
the
do
last
it.
game.
Definitely.
You've got to do it. Just on another note, Villa, do you think they'll go down? Obviously, Hull's last opponents.
Well, I feel sorry for Paul Lambert and what he had there, because I think his hands were tied. I think Randy Lerner didn't want to give him any money. He clearly needed a striker, and they never got one in January. Kozak's injured. Agbonlaho's not scoring. Vyman's not scoring. Benteke's off form.
Not looking great.
Not at all.
Right, we'll look at the upcoming fixtures this weekend then. After a fortnight without a game, Hull host QPR at the KC Stadium, looking to build on their recent results, having gained an impressive draw at the Etihad and then beating Aston Villa 2-0 in their last home game. Scunthorpe United travel to Preston in a confident mood, having gained back-to-back victories at Glanford Park against high-flying Swindon and Chesterfield, as we mentioned earlier. After 2 disappointing losses, there's no let-up for Paul Hurst Grimsby, who travelled to top of the table, Barnet. However, the Mariners did come from behind to beat the Bees 3-1 at Blundell Park only 5 fixtures ago. And Billy Heath's North Ferriby travelled to Twerton Park to face Bath City in the FA Trophy semi-final first leg. The hosts on Tuesday evening beat Farnborough 7-4, with striker Nick McCootie scoring 4 times in that game. So this chap, Nick McCootie, do you think he'll be causing problems for Ferriby?
Well, he will be if he's scoring that many goals. I remember actually I was watching the score come through actually from the Bath City game just through interest, and I saw all the goals and I thought, what is going on in that game? So clearly got a scoring pedigree, because Farnborough were obviously a team that North Ferriby played in the FA Trophy a couple of rounds back.
Ferriby, as we all know, great run in this FA Trophy. You know, can they win this game?
I firmly believe they can. Yeah, I really do. I don't think there's anything stopping them. Obviously, it's a cup game, so anything can happen. Ferriby are doing better in their respective league than Bath are in the Conference South.
Just.
We
might add, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I fancy them to get to the final. I really do.
I think the players are now starting to believe. Hold on, Wembley's just around this corner. You know, we can do this now, because I think league form has suffered slightly.
It's gonna.
Yeah. Hull QPR then, they've had a bit of a break. Hopefully not in Portugal. They didn't do any good the first time. So you know, the last time they played QPR, it was in the Championship. This last fixture was in the Championship in January 2011, and it was a 0-0 draw. Has that got it? You know, is that going to happen again this year?
I fancy Hull to win this game. I think they will win 2-1. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet, but I fancy them to win it this weekend. So if you want to back someone, that's Hardy's tip.
Don't listen to Hardy.
That's Hardy's tip.
In all competitions, the meetings between these two, Hull have won 14, QPR have won 15. They've drawn 15. So if Hull was to win this, it'd be 15-15-15. You can't separate the two.
That's a lovely stat.
It's Greg's famous stat. You can't separate the two.
No, definitely.
We'll look at Scunthorpe United. Such an impressive form at the moment. Preston North End losing to Manchester United in midweek. Scunthorpe travel there. Are Preston in a good mood, or are they feeling down?
They're going to be down, because obviously of all the antics that went on in the game as well, surrounding the Rooney dive and what have you. But I think at the end of the day, they just got to put that to the back of their minds. And Preston are one of the best teams in League One, without a shadow of a doubt. The players they've got, I mean, the strike force, they've got Gallagher, Davis and Garner, which is, it's a Championship strike force. It's fantastic. So Scunthorpe have got a really tricky tie there. There's some fantastic games this weekend for our local sides.
Again, head-to-head, Preston have the edge. They've won 17, Scunthorpe winning 13, only drawing 5 in all competitions. So again, stats point to Preston, but Scunthorpe have gone away from home, and they've got impressive wins.
They have, yeah. I think, in all honesty, I think Matt Robbins will be happy with a draw at Preston. He might not say that to the fans and to the press, but I think he'd take a draw at Preston, definitely.
Grimsby Town travel to league leaders Barnet. The gap between Barnet and second place has shrunk now, so Barnet will want to win this game, obviously. They would anyway, but more important now, how do you think Grimsby will get on there? Yeah,
it's so tight. It is so tight in that league, and there are so many teams that could get into the playoffs. I think you're looking as far down as about 12th of teams that realistically still have a chance of getting into the playoffs. So Grimsby just need to go there and do exactly what they did in the game at Blundell Park, which was make Barnet look very, very average. I didn't think they looked anything impressive at all.
Looking at stats then between the two, Barnet only won 3, drawing 1. Grimsby Town winning 10. So Grimsby Town, you know, it looks on stats, they could win this. Looking back at Scunthorpe then, we heard from Scunthorpe United this week, so this is what they had to say.
You can feel momentum building, you can feel the supporters getting more and more excited. The players are in good form, they're playing in a decent way, or a way that's getting us good performances, which in turn is giving us some decent results and the chances of decent results. So this week's been a good week for us. We just want to maintain that. And again, going into another game against one of the top teams and one of the teams that I fancy to go up automatically with Simon. You know, and Simon's got a good track record at this level. You know, with his promotions with Blackpool and Leeds and Huddersfield, and you know, they'll be fancying themselves the back of the performance against Manchester United. You know, we've got a tough game this weekend, so we want to go there and put on a good performance that hopefully will be enough to get something out of this game. And you know, from when I came in, I think people may sort of forget, but we had a real major negative goal difference, and we're almost back to square one with it. We're almost back to zero, and you know, if we can get into that and into the positives as quickly as we possibly can do, then you know, that's another milestone for us. So you know, we're looking at those milestones. We're on more or less 2 points a game from when we came in. So you know, we've got to try and maintain that. And if you know, if we've left it a little bit too late for this season, who knows? You know, but we've got to try and have a real go at keep picking these points up against the teams, and certainly with the confidence we should have got from the 2 games we've just played, Saturday, Tuesday. You know, we've got no reason to think about anything negative going into a tough game at Preston.
You mentioned the great performances against Swindon and Chesterfield, who were both up at the top of the table. How important is it to maintain that going into another team at the top of the table?
The games obviously that we've just played against Swindon and Chesterfield are you know, they've gone now, but the performance levels that we've put in have meant that it gives us a chance in the games. You know, I think the first half against Chesterfield, things were a little bit tight. I thought we'd done pretty well in the first half, and created 1 or 2 chances, but not really had the real quality in that final third to go and score the goal. But in the second half, I thought we were outstanding. And again, there wasn't too much between the two sides, although I thought we were better. I thought we were better, and we deserved the win in the end.
This is from Scunthorpe United there. So time has beaten us once again on the show this week. Don't forget, we are here every Saturday, 10 a.m. on Estuary TV. Thank you to Hardy for your wise words this week. Don't forget, you can get in touch on social media, Facebook, Twitter and email on the bench at estuary.tv. So until next week, goodbye.